Arizona Cardinals in the NFC West. This one, I think we're going to have to argue a little bit. You have them as a wild card team. I have them as 500. With what they did last year, I find it very hard to put them in that seventh seed because I still think this roster is really, really far away from what it could be. And they've been 4 wins these last 2 years. Now, if they were to get to 500, 8 wins, that would be doubling their win total. So I guess try to sell me why you think they can be a wild card team. Because right now I'm sitting pretty strong at 500.
No, no, hey, look, there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Here, I'm going to sell it to you super quickly because honestly, my reasons are very short and very simple. My reasoning is just this. We have seen Kyler Murray can get to a point where he actually very much elevates this Cardinals team. Like we've seen Kyler Murray go 2 seasons in a row where the first half of the season he literally is playing like the MVP of the entire league. If we can get that Kyler Murray consistently the whole year, that's contingency one. Contingency two is if Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride can be that duo that I think that they can be. All of a sudden, defending the Cardinals is not going to be an easy task with the way they're going to be mixing in the read option. And let me be clear, more than anything, this team being a wild card team comes down much more to the offense than the defense. They're going to have to make an explosive offense out of what they have. But to complement that on the other side, if Max Melton can come in and be really good his rookie year, and Gannon can have that same defense going that he had last year, albeit it wasn't an elite unit, but it was much better than what we expected and much better than the talent they had. The talent you added, you get those rookies playing up to speed. Again, best case scenario is Kyler Murray playing that MVP type of football again and then being a wild card team. Do I think that that's going to happen? Absolutely not. It's just that was just my best case scenario, and I felt like I would be selling Marv's potential talent, Kyler, Trey, all of them together. It's kind of just like that's how I'm looking at it.
Okay, so let me ask you this. If you had to put 500, if you had to put your rent money down on the ceiling of the Cardinals, would you rather put it on them being a playoff team or a wild card team or 500?
Close to 500 without even fucking thinking about it. So you're right. You know what? You convinced me. I got to take a little bit of a step back, I think.
Okay. We had to figure it out, so I just wanted to see. All right. Now we have the Los Angeles Rams, and we have them as a playoff team. I mean, I think, with the way that the Rams have been, how good they've been these last couple of years, even when they weren't supposed to be, I think with the additions that they've made, obviously they lose Aaron Donald, that's big, but the Rams are, I think playoff team is better for them right now, but I would have zero issue if someone argued that they're a Super Bowl contender this year.
No, it's funny you say that because that's actually what I was going to open with. Like, I was this close to putting them at Super Bowl contender, but I think the big thing that really keeps drawing me back, but it's just being logical. It's just the truth. Like, you lose a guy like Aaron Donald, that is not like it's very hard to lose a guy that held up the culture and held up the identity of a team for so long. And replacing them again with essentially you replaced him with 2 rookies, albeit 2 rookies that were very, very high on. But it doesn't really matter how good they play this rookie year because I just don't think they're going to replace Aaron Donald's impact on in their first year. It just doesn't really, what I'm saying? It just doesn't really matter how good they play. There's not going to replace that Aaron Donald level. And it's just, that's really what it comes down to for me. 2 rookies, it's a tough ask to ask them to play elite ball their rookie year. And it's 2 very important positions on the defense. And staff is getting older. Don't get me wrong, I'm with you. If you want to argue the Super Bowl contender because of the pedigree and McVay, you could argue that with me all day, and I wouldn't sit here and tell you that you're wrong. I would just tell you, like you said, that I lean towards them being the playoff ceiling because of the reasons that I just listed. But it's not like saying that the Super Bowl is criminal.
No, I mean, I will never bet against McVay and Stafford. Kind of similar how it's almost kind of crazy. Like, I feel the same way, and obviously they haven't accomplished nearly as much, but like, I'm not betting against Brady and Belichick. Like, I'm not going to bet against Stafford and McVay. Like, they just seem like they can win any game with the way that they scheme things up. Moving into the San Francisco 49ers, another one that's very easy. Like, this team year in and year out is one of the most talented rosters in the NFL. I think as we've gone on the last couple of years, I think the pressure has grown quite a bit to get the job done in San Fran. So, why, I guess we should make the argument on like why they should only be Super Bowl contenders and nothing else. Like, I just, you look at the roster, you look at the play caller, you look at the defense, there's no reason they shouldn't be in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, no, there's no reason they should be in the Super Bowl. Brock Purdy is he's playing not only is he playing good ball, but now he's playing for the money. And whenever there's a year like that, and you already were playing good ball, how can I sit here and say that I don't expect him to play the best ball of his career? If Brock Purdy's playing the best ball of his career with the best receiving core he's had in his entire career, I mean, look, we're in a situation now where Juwan Jennings, coming off of as good a year as he has been, being that security blanket that he's been for the Niners, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he might be the odd man out the situation soon enough. And that's a good problem to have. If a guy is good and is reliable as Juwan Jennings is a guy where you're starting to ask yourself, how much longer does he fit into this team? Well, that's a great situation to be in, right? It's just, and yeah, it's not like every unit on this entire roster is fantastic, but they're all above average. There's a young ascending star, I could argue, in almost every position group on the entire team. It's just when all those things come together, how could you not be a Super Bowl contender?
Yeah, I think this one, along with the Chiefs, is probably the toughest one to argue against any other position in the tier list. Moving into our last team, we have the Seattle Seahawks. And Dobbs, I don't know. You have them as a wild card team. I have them as 500. Do you try to sell me why they'll be a wild card team? I'll try to sell you why I think they'll be 500, and then we'll go from there.
I think I'll spoil it though. I think that this is a very similar situation to how the Cardinals just was. Like I'm at their very, I mean, like at the very ceiling. Like, all right, this is a wild card team. But if I had to put my rent on it, I'm leaning towards the 500 range. But I think just to sell it though, it's like, look, this is a team who already look. They're coming off of a 9-8 year last year, and it wasn't a good year. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't a good year. Seahawks fans would agree. Geno Smith's still playing good ball though. And all of a sudden, Sam Howell's in the building. So if that's the transition at some point, I don't think it'll be this year. But you have a little bit of not immediate, but you have at least some kind of answer in the back of your hand if something happens to Geno or if Geno's not playing good. At least we have a contingency plan on the table. If Kenneth Walker stays healthy again, I have him. He's one of my favorite running backs in the whole league, one of the best running backs in the whole league. If he can just stay healthy, big contingency with Kenneth. Right, we got a good receiving core. If JSN can make a big jump, all of a sudden, I mean, this offense again, really, really back to standard. The offensive line, all of a sudden, though, there's a lot of questions in the offensive line. That's definitely one of the biggest problems with this whole team, which is with elevating them to being a wild card team. Then, yeah, and look, I love the combination of Uchenna Nwosu, Boye Mafe on the defense, and then we had Byron Murphy. Like, man, oh man, this defense, all of a sudden, if Byron Murphy can come in and be the guy I think he is, I think with the D-backs that they have, I can see them being a wild card team. There's still plenty of questions on the roster, right? There is. The safety room is not anything to that you're scared of or anything. Like they're in the linebacking room. Look, Tyrell Dotson played fantastic ball last year, but I was on a minimal snap count for how good that he played. Now it's going to be you're out there every snap. If he can be that same linebacker he was last year on the limited role, on the full time role, I just feel like, you know what, Seahawks is a wild card. I can see it.
Yeah, I think my thing with the 500 is that they have a new OC, right? And Shane Waldron and Canales were really behind the Geno restoration project. He's gone. So I don't know if I trust this offense, especially with the line issues like we talked about, to be a team that can make the playoffs. And if you look at the Seattle Seahawks schedule, it's not the worst thing in the world, but there's so many games where it's like I don't feel comfortable with the outcome of them winning every game. So like outside of like New York, the Giants, the Patriots, Denver, maybe Atlanta, Arizona obviously, and then Minnesota, Chicago, like I just don't see how like all those games to me, most of those games to me are split games. So getting to the playoffs will be tough, especially with the new regime on offense and defense. I feel like it's going to be I don't want to call it a rebuild, but just kind of like a retooling of the current roster in Seattle. I mean, they let a decent amount of people walk. Obviously, I think they addressed kind of like short term things. But like Christian Haynes was a good pick. Byron Murphy was a good pick. They're pretty okay at receiver. So I think overall the Seahawks shouldn't be a horrible team, and they should be around 500. I have a hard time trying to sell that they'll be in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, you know what? I'm the same way. Like I agree with you. It's just at the very ceiling, I leaned, I'm leaning, but it's a 1% chance.
Yeah,
But I'm with you. If I'm
I
putting my rank, like we said
understand.
about the Cardinals, I'm going towards that 500 range.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching. This has been You Don't Know Ball's tiering of all 2024 NFL teams' ceilings. As always, if you don't know ball and want to know ball, be sure to subscribe, leave a like, let us know in the comments who you think will be a dark horse Super Bowl contender. Thank you guys so much for watching.